closer. Not yet. Oh, we got one person. Hey. Hey, Facebook.
Hey guys, we're going to do our presentation here in a couple minutes, so grab a piece of pizza if you need it, and then just flip your chair around if your back is to us. Chad's going to be coming in. He just went out to run the marathon. He'll be in a few minutes, and then we're going to get started.
We have Emily. Hi, Emily.
Hi.
Hi. I'm with Autumn here. You excited?
Yeah.
Excited to share stories? Yeah.
I've been working on writing mine. It's like 4 pages long.
Thinking all about
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, maybe they didn't. Did you ask if they can turn the music off in here? Or?
I did not. No.
I'll go find out.
Can you? Thank you.
So I was hoping I would have it done by tonight.
Hey guys, how are you?
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Mental, I look nice. Yeah, the bling. Got the bling. Look at that. Heavy duty.
I take it everywhere.
Do you? Yeah. You know what? She takes it with her everywhere. Yeah.
It fits right by my bed, so I know.
Do you have, you have your purse back here. You need to put your IRONMAN backpack in your back purse on a wheelchair. You need to get an IRONMAN, you know how a lot of IRONMAN have like tattoos and stuff? You just need to get a sticker in your wheelchair. That's your IRONMAN tattoos. Yeah. That's a good idea. And then you can get a tattoo. Tattoos hurt.
Chad was going to get one.
Yeah, did he? He's right here.
Okay. How's the volume, guys? Can you hear me okay? Excellent. All right. First of all, thank you all for being here tonight for Team Autumn celebration for Ironman and the Northern Souls 1000. Crazy that we're here, right, guys? Yeah. Are you guys excited to celebrate? Hear some stories? We like to do these because for a few reasons. One, obviously there's a team, but we experienced on race day that team is much more than just 2 people, right? As well as during the week leading up to it, the crew and everyone doing the 6 crazy Ironmans before, but also because even if folks were not physically involved, you all are part of the team. You're all friends and family and donors, and this is much about bringing the team together to share stories, and for us as an organization to say thanks for all of your support, even if you're just liking a post on Facebook, or you're giving a shout out, or you're making a donation, or if you're there pushing up hills. It really takes so many people to make this possible on race day. So again, thank you all for being here today. I of course want to say thank you to Autumn Thank you for your incredible spirit, your awesome smile, your fun-loving attitude, keeping us all going out there and inspiring all of us, including obviously Chad. So thank you, Autumn. And of course, thank you to Chad, this crazy person. And we were talking about friends earlier, and Nick's not here today. But I just want to say that you need to find new friends. Did I see that the week after the race, you had a friend that turned like 41?
Right there, Rob.
And he said, let's go run 41 miles?
No.
37. Oh, that's no big deal.
Yeah.
And did you do that too?
I did not do the full 37. I only did 7.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Well, that's yes. Probably because you did 30 earlier in the day, right?
No, not that
No.
day.
But I was just thinking, man, you need some new friends.
I know,
You need some.
I know.
You got some really dumb friends out there. Yes, we got to really work on that. So obviously, thank you so much, Chad. Thank you for your crazy attitude, your awesome ideas. Thank you for inspiring so much of us in your journey, and it's just incredible to follow your heart and along the way. And I just loved how you helped to mobilize so many people. It felt like it was little Wausau out there on race day with all the shark heads and Keith running down people, pushing them on the course, and just all the fans that were out there. So again, I know a lot of you were there, and thank you for your support. I also want to say thanks to everyone in Northern Souls. So what an incredible group of people. I know we got a bunch of them over here. Have you recovered? Has everyone recovered? Wow, what a week that must have been. And we're going to share some stories about that, but thank you all so much. Thank you to Tina as well for your incredible photos and stories that you share. Thank
Fundraising.
you. Fundraising as well, getting behind the 5K and as well as so many other things. Thank you to Team Mom over here. Thank you for all of your support and so many other people that I'm sure you know about that I don't. But
Hundreds, yeah.
yeah, so obviously we're here to say thanks. What? Hundreds of people. So I want to just briefly talk a little bit about IRONMAN itself, and then we're going to get into just sharing stories. We're going to have fun with this. You guys can ask questions, and hopefully we're going to get through some of the favorite moments, some of the craziest moments, some of the things that you're going to take away from the experience, and maybe warnings to people that want to do it as well, right? Briefly about IRONMAN. I was talking to someone recently about this, and they were asking me, why do you guys do IRONMAN? Why do you do IRONMAN events? Why do you do it as an organization? Obviously, we all wonder why generally people do Ironmans. Again, those crazy people. But why do you as an organization do it? And you know, if you guys have been to our races here locally or other ones like the Wausau Marathon, you know what, there's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of captains and angels. It's big teams. And with Ironman, we're usually having 1. We had 2 this year. The most we've had is 3. And that's probably the cap that we'll ever do in a race like that, just because of the logistics, the support, and getting people out on the hills and doing all that stuff. And the reason why we do it is not necessarily to scale it, but Ironman being this unique event, being this challenge that it is, provides an excellent venue for people to see something that they're not expecting, right? To see something, they're expecting to see all these athletes riding by on their bike, and then they see Autumn in her race chair, and Chad or one of the other 12 people that pulled, and then people pushing from behind, and it really causes us to stop and go, wow. And it's those wow moments that are the beginning of something special for the other people that we are seeking to impact. So that's a big part of it. Obviously, also a big part of it is to give people like Autumn an opportunity to do something that they never thought that they could do. Mentally, physically, spiritually, it was tough. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. You went through a hard day and you went through a lot of training, did you not? Yeah. And but you made it. You did it. You were an Ironman. And so to give people like Autumn that opportunity to cross that finish line is something so special. How many of you were there at the finish line? How many of you were there? A number of you. If you've never been to Ironman, I would really encourage you to go. Have you ever been there before? Have you ever been there? But I would really encourage you to go. It is super powerful. You are gonna cry no matter how hard-headed you are, right? Yeah, it is super powerful, and obviously seeing these guys come across the finish line was awesome. I'm not gonna get into it too much because I want to save it for these guys to share. But Chad, I want to first talk about. I want to talk with you about the whole Northern Souls thing. So maybe everyone knows what this is, but if you could just give everyone a background of like, what is this Northern Souls thing? What drugs are everyone taking on the team? And why did you guys come up with this 1,000-mile journey?
All right. Well, everybody was well aware of the Epic 5 story that we did in 2017. And was it 2017 or 16? I don't even remember. 17. So we were shocked, and we can give a lot of credit here to Jen Smolt as when we started talking about we were going to do this, and she said, you need to broadcast this. You need to tell people that you're doing this because the community wants to know. And we didn't have any idea it would turn into what it did, and it just exploded, and the whole entire community just went wild with following this and saying, hey, there's something positive in the news finally, that everybody just loved what we were doing out there. And it took me by surprise, and that was kind of the motivation that got us when we got back. We couldn't go anywhere without people stopping us and wanting to hear about the challenge and wanting to know what's next. That was always the biggest question, was what's next? And we at the time didn't have a what's next. And of course, a couple nights out at Red Eye and a couple nights for dinner because the crew kept staying together. And I kind of had this wild idea of let's just step it up a little bit. Instead of 5, let's try to do 7. And the crew that was with Epic 5 just said, let's do it. Everybody wanted to sit together. And what people don't understand is what a commitment this is. Not just, it isn't even about like the training and all that kind of stuff that I got to do, but it's about what the crew has to sacrifice for this. I mean, what they put together, all the time that they put into this, not to mention even the vacation they had to take. And I mean, the hours that they put into it is hardly anything. I mean, is more than what I've had to put into it for training, is what I'm trying to say. And it goes beyond just the crew. It goes with all the volunteers and all the people that put the stuff into it. And like I said, with the fundraising, with Keith putting stuff out on social media, or all the stuff that they're doing to try to get people on board with this. And we just decided, let's do this 7 Ironmans in 7 days. And it was a guy from Keith Rieger, a person he owns a Kona 5 race out in Hawaii, and he said to me, he's like, why don't you put another spin onto it, and why don't you join, team up with my Team Triumph? I'm like, hey, that sounds awesome. Well, that was last year. I mean, that sounded great, right? How great would that be? So that's how it all kind of formed, was just something after Epic 5.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So,
that's great.
And obviously, you kicked off the whole week on that Monday, and you went through the whole. Let's talk a little bit. Was it day 1 that you dealt with the bee stings? Yeah. So talk a little bit about the journey. Talk about the first 6. What were the highs and lows? What were some of the things that were most memorable for you?
Let's see here. Well, the most memorable parts of it, of course, are everybody showing up, what they did, and the people from the Watts group that showed up to do day 1. I mean, I was kind of floored. I mean, I didn't know there was going to be that much participation with this, that we had I don't know, do you guys know how many people we had that day? How many? 6 swimmers, 10 riders that actually joined us for day 1. And it's pretty cool to see the convoy of people and support vehicles and everything that takes place as you're going and doing this. I mean, we started the swim on day 1 at my parents' house. It was like it was a picture-perfect morning, as beautiful as it can possibly get, with just water was glass. I mean, it was perfect. There was no wind whatsoever, and we started off, we did the swim, and it was probably one of my fastest times I've ever done a Ironman swim. And that was perfect. We did a quick interview with Channel 9, I remember that. It was kind of everything's kind of a blur right now because everything just happened, you know, the crew just had you going constantly. We took off, we had a really cool route planned out that Scott actually planned using one of his apps. I don't even know which one it was, but he had every road marked off. We had one little challenge, I remember, when we got to, all of a sudden it was gonna be a gravel road, so we just took a detour and we were able to bypass that. And as we were going, we were mile 70-ish, and I took a bee, hit me in the lip, and then it actually went into my jersey, and I got stung about 7 times. And stupid me, I did not have any Benadryl, or I didn't have anything with me, but Bob, actually, one of the guys that were riding with us, he had some stuff, so I took that, and I got called in a prescription for some prednisone. Keith ran and picked that up, and at that point, I was at like a point of adrenaline where I just wanted to get this bike ride done, and I remember somebody saying my pace picked up like a lot at that point, and I just wanted to like get this day over with because I was so miserable just with the swelling and everything that was going on, and I looked, you know, like I got in a fight and all this kind of stuff. So I just wanted to get home and or get back to the transition area, and we finished up at the Y. It was neat, like how many stops we made. Do you guys know how many stops we did along the way? And you know, the crew was always there. We were hydrated, we were fed. Everything just went like clockwork, like it always does with these guys. Plenty of support, and we finished at the Weston YMCA as far as the bike goes. We transitioned there, and then we started the run, and we took off to Rim Mountain, where we then incorporated the 5K and got to meet up with everybody. So pretty cool moment to see everybody up there. The weather was not perfect, but it didn't stop everybody from coming out, so that was pretty special to see all those people out there. And we did the 5K up there. I think we had 4 miles to go, Chris, or about 4 miles to go after that. And we just finished it up in the areas up there and kind of ran in the rain. And that was day 1. It was nice to finish and get back into some dry clothes and get home and actually sleep in our own beds that night. And we started day 2.
Yep.
And day 2 we took off. We went to the Rochelle Lions Camp, a very, very neat place. That somebody, if you ever get the opportunity to stop out there, you need to see it, because you will leave feeling different if you're ever there with all the campers that are out there. Sometimes I take these guys when we're on training rides. That's one of the stops that I do, because we can always get water. And Andrea Yenter, who is the camp director, she's just an awesome, awesome lady that invites everybody there, everybody to see it. We stop in, and I tell these guys on the way, if they've never been before, I said, your life's gonna be different when you leave here. And we'll walk into the whole area, like if they're having breakfast, you'll walk into their cafeteria, and it's all people that are there. It's a special needs camp. And they welcome us. They a lot of times make us eat breakfast with them, and we always fill up our water bottles and everything there. So that was one of the places I wanted to do the swim. And the swim was beautiful. Mark Timkin and Brad Lewitsky joined us that day for day 2. So that was pretty neat that, again, we had people joining us, and we took off. I was talking to Brad today, and I didn't really have a chance to even talk to him since all this had took place, and I was absolutely mind-blowing how well, they just took off and did it. And I mean, without having the background, or, without going and doing 112 miles on a bike, they just rocked it. I mean, the whole thing. And of course, That day couldn't be complete without getting stung by a bee again. So I got stung one more time, and that's kind of what really set the tone for the rest of the week, is how things kind of went. I took the shot of prednisone that I was prescribed. I just took, a double dose, and I just left it. Well, that turned out to be, later in hindsight, kind of my mistake that led to some problems on day 6, or day 7, I should say. But that was that. So the run went great. We had Jake Dull joined us. Actually, we had a lot of people even that day. How many people? Do you guys know how many people? 6 or 7 people. I know Jake joined us. Rob joined us. He actually drove his car. He left right after work, came and found us, and just left his car on the side of the road just to run with us back home. So that was pretty cool. We arranged. He got a ride back, and we just had people stopping in, and even some neighbors. Paul and Heather Bartnick, their daughters stopped out and wanted to just join us. So they ran with us on Highway J for a while. It was just neat that so many people took advantage. Just came out and did this with us.
Yeah.
So.
Obviously, you got through the rest of the days. I remember checking in with Nick from time to time, kind of asking how you were doing, and him giving me some updates. And I remember him saying that you were like clockwork. You were right on with your times, and feeling really good.
Everything was pretty consistent, but they kept it that way. I mean, they're the ones that, go to bed, wake up, eat. They're the ones that actually got me to do that. I mean, on your own, you're kind of like, I got 10 more minutes. They're like, no, go, let's go.
Yeah.
We ran into problems day 3 with the swim. No, day 4. Actually, day 3, Casey and I joined us. A bunch of people came out and did the swim. I know Chris was there. Days 1, 3. I mean, he joined us for a lot of it too, and even for the marathons, he joined for a bunch of the marathons. But we, rode from, on day 3, we actually rode from my house to Green Bay, where we got to meet up with Autumn. One thing that was really special was on the way to Green Bay, we had made a stop in Wittenberg. And the thing that was neat about this was, earlier this year, in August, my dad passed away. And the last conversation that I had with him was, he said, he woke up one night, in the middle of the night, and he said, Chad, he goes, where do I have to meet you? And I said, what are you talking about? I'm like, for what? He goes, for your race, where do I have to meet you? And I said, the race isn't for a few more weeks. And he said, well, you're going to go through Wittenberg, right? And I said, yeah, I'm going to be going through Wittenberg. He goes, okay, I'll see you there. And I don't know why he picked Wittenberg. I don't know what that exactly was. Why he said that. And at that point, I didn't even know if he knew my name. I mean, he was dying from a brain tumor, and he thought he was still in school at certain points. I mean, he didn't even know he retired. Everything was completely confusing except that moment. It was plain as day what he was trying to get through. He just wanted this. He wanted me to know that, for whatever reason, in Wittenberg, he's going to see me there. And I said, okay, I'll see you there. And that was the last conversation I ever had. Well, as we were at mile 40-ish, I come pulling up. The crew was ahead of me, and actually there was a bunch of people that had joined us, even some Watts members that were there. And I saw my mom on the side of the road up in the ditch, and I'm just like, Mom, what are you doing? And Nick motioned for me to slow down and stop, and I stopped. And she turned around and she was crying, and I said, well, what's going on? And I got off the bike, and there's actually a picture of that on Facebook, but these guys had painted up some rocks and left them on the side of the road for kind of on the side of the road there as a memorial to my dad. So very, very special moment. And one thing I wanted to add with that was just last week, my neighbor down the road, some good friends of mine, Greg and Lindsay Cole, reached out to me and they said, hey, do you know about this? It was a picture of, you know, the rocks and everything that were displayed for this memorial. And I said, yeah. I said, absolutely. That's, you know, everything. That's my dad. That I explained what the crew did for me and whatever. And they said that the landowner was actually looking for what this meant or what this was all about or what it needed to be. And so I explained it to Lindsay, and she wrote to the girl that she went to high school with, the parents that own the land, and she said, oh my gosh, that is absolutely, you know, we admire this, and we're so thankful you guys put this here. It'll always be here, and we won't touch it. So you're welcome to come on our property anytime you want. Just, it's there. So really, really special day, day 3, and something I did not expect along the way, but just, again, one more thing that these guys do for us that, you know, just puts them above everybody else, you know, so pretty neat.
It's an amazing story. What a powerful feeling that must have been.
Yeah, it was great.
To reflect back on that and have that in your heart, and can only imagine how proud he is.
Yeah.
And how proud your mom is.
Thanks.
Right, Mom? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Autumn, you saw Chad going through these first 6 days.
And I followed him every time.
Yep. What was going through your mind as he was doing it?
He's crazy.
I've heard that a few times.
Yep.
From you.
He's crazy. Were you nervous for him?
Yes,
Yeah.
but then is he gonna make it through day 7?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You were really concerned for him and
yeah.
thinking about him and
I was actually on Saturday before Ironman. I can't remember who it was, but someone called Mom and said, "Can you call Chad because he needs a little pick me up." That's what they called it. And I called him, and I was resting at my aunt and uncle's, and I'm like, "Dad, what are you doing?"
what's going on, man?
Was that day 6? Were you in Madison at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was at my aunt and uncle's, and then he said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, just hanging out.
Just hanging out.
I think we stopped to get food at that time, and we actually FaceTimed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was that like seeing Autumn on that?
Oh
on
my
that
gosh,
FaceTime?
that
give you a
was
little
what I
lift?
needed. Yeah, it was exactly what we needed to get that day done because
Yeah.
Scott and I were riding that day, and it was windy. It was so ungodly windy, and the wind was coming out of the east, and I thought, this is going to be great because we're going west. We're going to go to Madison, right? We're in Lake Geneva. It's west. Well, no, we had to go, Scott picked a route where we had to go north forever, and we had this crosswind that was like kicking my butt. And I'm like, Scott, what is the deal? Why are we not going east? Or why are we not going with the wind? And he's like, there'll be a turn up here. There'll be a turn up here. When we get to mile 70, he goes, it's going to be
Almost there.
nice. Yeah, and I'm like, mile 70, there's going to be wind anymore because it's going to be dark. So we're not going to have this advantage, you know. But it worked out okay.
Scott's fired.
Yeah.
Scott's gone.
But he rode with me, so that was nice.
Awesome. All right, so got day 6 done. Probably a little bit tired, but let's talk about Ironman. Let's talk about the day. Autumn, how were you feeling going into the race?
Good, but tired because I didn't sleep much the night before,
You didn't sleep much?
even though Chad told me to.
Yeah, she was partying it up, I'm sure.
You were partying it. You were relaxing. You were hanging out.
Because at the end of day 6, Chad called me on, Mom called me on FaceTime and said, "Someone wants to tell you something." Then Chad was like, "Go to bed."
Yeah, I knew it was going to be a long day on Sunday, so I tried to give her that advice.
Talk about how you were feeling on going into day 7.
Okay, so Sunday morning, it was a frenzy. I didn't have the paperwork done, of course, because you're supposed to do that on Friday. I didn't have that stuff done, all the kind of stuff you're supposed to do beforehand. So I met up with you guys, and we basically ran through. Now, you gotta imagine there's 3,000 people that are doing Ironman that day, and it's complete chaos. And we were trying to find where I could get signed up. I actually had to sign the waivers, I had to get my bib, I had to get my timing chip. It was, again, this is my point of view, not to mention what the crew's going through, because I saw Champ had his hands, his back, his arms, everything, he couldn't carry anything more. And he's running from one end to the other end, trying to find, where he needs to be with everything. And it was absolute chaos. And I finally get down to the swim start. I'm putting on my wetsuit, and I saw Tina was down there, Jason was there, and Jason said to me, he's like, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "I'm not feeling great." I'm like, "I can tell you that right now." And actually looking at pictures, I could see that there was issues maybe. And I just couldn't catch my breath. It felt like I bruised my ribs or my sternum or something like that. And I mean, I remember people saying to me, even Nick kept pointing out, "No, you gotta know, like Nick knows if my pinky hurts, he knows." I mean, he just has this way of like knowing if my knee's bothering me or if there's anything wrong, he just knows. And he's like, "What is it?" He's like, "Tell me what it is."
And I knew it too.
Yeah, Autumn knew it too, that there was something wrong. So I didn't know what it was. I was hoping maybe it was just like a bruised rib or it was something like that I could just ignore and keep going past it. Well, we jumped in the water and we started about 20 to 7. Now, all my times all week, I think Ironman swims were hour 5, hour 10. Okay, and I jumped in the water, we took off, and the winds were pretty strong coming out of the east, so it was actually kind of pushing the raft a little bit to kind of the northeast.
I think Scott arranged those wins.
He probably did. He probably arranged those winds too. Yeah, just like on day
It
6.
was like going to the side, and I was like, "Why is it going to the side?"
Yeah, so it was kind of pulling us around, pushing us around a little bit. And when we got to the first turn, I was struggling. I was already hurting, and I knew that there was something wrong. And when we made it to turn 2, and I remember looking at one of the officials there. I actually picked my head up, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you okay?" And I just said, "Yep." I said, "I'm fine." I said, "Can you tell me what time it is?" He said, "It doesn't matter, you're gonna be fine." So I stuck my head back in the water, went for a ways, and as I was going, I just remember I couldn't catch my breath at all. I just had nothing in me. I couldn't do it, and I didn't want Autumn to get alarmed, so what I was trying to do was act like I was checking on her, when realistically I was actually pulling myself onto the front of the raft, trying to catch my breath. And she knew it.
You could tell. You could tell he was struggling.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you thinking? Were you nervous for him?
I was like, "Oh, no."
Yeah, and I had that same worry as she did. But my worry was, if we quit, we're disqualified. And everything that we worked for, everything that everybody did for us would be over. And I was trying to reason with myself, going, well, maybe I can talk one of the Ironman officials or something into bending the rules, which they don't do. They just don't. And I mean, we're DQ'd if we don't make it in from the swim. And I remember getting to where it said 2, it was mile 2, or no, it was, we were halfway through it. And again, that was about the 3rd time that I'd pulled myself on the front of the raft and catching my breath. And all I kept saying was, Autumn, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing okay? And she just looked at me and she kind of smiled. She said, I'm fine. How are you? And I'm like, I'm good. And there were kayakers that would come up and say, are you okay? Are you know, what's going on? I said, no, I'm just checking on my captain. And I said, I'm making sure that Autumn's okay. And they're like, okay. So back in the water we went. And I just kept thinking that we're not gonna be able to end this. And at one point, another time I stopped and I asked the guy, I said, I need to know what time it is. And he said that you are an hour 20 into the swim. And I said, he goes, you're gonna make it. And I'm like, I didn't know, I had doubts. Like I've never ever had doubts before. And everybody remembers the story of Epic 5 on day 4 when Loman and I were in that water. And this was very, very comparable to that, except there I was at least able to breathe, where this time I was not. I just couldn't get any air in. I just kept going and kept going and kept going, and I mean, it just goes to show you that when you think you can't go on, you can. I mean, you just can. You just dig and you find it and you make it happen. And we finished the swim in an hour 40. So well over the time of where it is. And I remember coming out of the water and I saw Keith, and he came running up to me clapping, and he's like, good job. And all I said was, fine, Nick, get him right now. And you know, he had this look on his face like, what? I said, just find Nick. And at that point, he came running down like from the helix, and he saw me, and I still had my wetsuit on. You guys were getting Autumn out of the raft. And he just said to me, he's like, what's going on? I said, I can't get any air in me. I said, I can't breathe. And he said, okay. He goes, that's fine. Let's get Autumn. We'll go up. We'll find at transition. We'll get you into a medic. Or we'll find a medic. We'll med tent, and we'll see if we can get something done for you. So we got up there, and the medics were of zero help whatsoever. And I actually asked them. I said, does anybody have like one of those inhalers? I think that's what I need, is something like that. And somebody in the transition area actually had one. So I took 3 hits of it, thinking that that's going to reverse it. And I changed clothes, ran out, and I still felt terrible. I mean, I just felt off. And I told Nick, I said, you know what, stay by your phone, have your phone on you. I might be calling you. And we took off. Actually, I stopped. My friend Bill was at the transition area, and he is EMT first responder. And I ran up to him and I said, I need your opinion. I said, what are the chances that this is going to be okay? And he said, you need to go to urgent care. And I'm like, well, what if I don't? And he said, you need to go to urgent care. And I'm like, can you get a hold of Ellen, one of our other friends? I'm like, can you ask her? And he just looked at me, shook his head. He goes, I'll get a hold of her, but I think you need to go in. And so I took off on the bike, and we're pretty slow.
Yeah.
We were pretty slow, and I was looking at my time. Now, this whole time leading up to this, I knew that I had to make 14 miles an hour average to make the cutoff for Ironman, or we are DQ'd. There's no exceptions. There's nothing. You know, we have to make that. And at that point, I was going 14 miles an hour-ish. And I made the call at mile 7. I called Nick and I just said, hey, I need you to help me out here. I said, I need you to switch out, because I'm not gonna make the cutoff if we keep going like this pace. And he said, I'll be at this intersection, just wait there for me. So we got there. He was in my bike kit already. We switched out. He jumped on the bike. Now, mind you, he has not ridden a bike in over a year. He hasn't touched a bike.
He's on your bike.
He's on my bike.
In your clothes.
In my clothes. Everything. He asked me, he's like, can I keep your phone so we can keep the live tracker going? I'm like, yeah, of course, why not? You know, what do I need it for? And so...
Mom was not happy about that.
There were several mothers that were not happy about that, but that was a decision that I just made, that, hey, let's just keep this rolling. And and I told Nick, I'm like, hey, throw some gloves on, throw this on, whatever. Well, Nick sweats. I mean, he did not need gloves. He didn't need a long sleeve shirt, any of this stuff, so he peeled it. It was gone. And he took off on the bike. And I told Autumn, and I remember at that point, you remember this, because felt horrible leaving you when we planned on doing this whole thing together. That was very, very, very hard for me, but what meant more to me was that you were going to get your day and you were going to get that to that finish line. And I remember telling you, I said, you know Nick's faster than me, and you like to go fast, just like Darren over there. So I'm going to hand this over to Nick while I go get some treatment, and we will meet back up with you. Remember that?
Yeah.
What were you thinking about at that point?
I was thinking about, in my mind, I'm like, if Chad quits, I'm done. Because we're a team and team finishes at the same time. And I was almost about to say that when I looked at Chad and before I could get the words out, he was wrong. But I knew he would say, you are not quitting. Because quit is not the word. You're gonna finish.
Exactly. So at that point is when things got pretty real. And again, the crew went into action. Now, Jen, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm going to. So tell me you should come up here and tell us what you guys did, because what they did was phenomenal. I mean, how many text messages?
We had 39 calls, 325 texts, and 122 Facebook messages of people trying to coordinate how to finish the rest of the day.
Okay, and that was just Jen's phone.
Yeah, that was just mine.
That was just Jen's phone. So a plan went into place to make sure that this was going to happen, and this is what actually made for the story that it is today, I think. You saw the whole entire crew of Northern Souls, you saw the Watts group, you saw everybody just come together, and the number one mission here was to get Autumn to that finish line. Nick went how many miles on the bike?
60.
The first?
You did 2 legs, right?
And then the other biker took over and then got me to Nick. And then Nick brought me to Chris at mile 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me
Okay.
just hop in there too.
Yeah, so it was at the top of Timber Lane that Nick got up to. And the other team that we had, Team BJ, on the course, we had, because it's a relay team, one of the athlete that was going to be the runner, his name is Dave. And so in preparation, I said, Dave, bring your bike, hop in the van with us, go on the course. We might need you at some point. And I remember Cliff was BJ's angel on the bike. Cliff was doing fine. Their pace was good. And I remember I was chatting with Jennifer about how, you were doing and that Nick was with, because I actually messaged Nick and I was like, hey bud, how you doing? And nothing, right? I didn't get a message from him. And so then we connected, and then I remember telling Dave, I said, Dave, I think Autumn needs you. And he was like, awesome, let's pull it out. And he pulled out his bike. He was super pumped about it. And he said, we had a celebration last night for Team BJ. We were talking about it. He said, I think he went like 25 miles. And he said that was like the fastest. He biked faster in that 25 miles because he was so pumped about being part of this team and helping Autumn than he did when he did Ironman last year on his own. He was so pumped about it. And I think we have the visual evidence with someone trying to catch him, right? Keith.
Yeah.
That's the best picture, man. We had a picture. This is going to last forever.
Yeah.
Is Keith here? Where is
He had
Keith?
to leave.
Oh, he had to leave.
Yeah.
That's okay. We'll make fun of him. That was just hilarious. So Dave did for 25 miles. And we had in our van we had a lot of the team that was following BJ, and so we had Cliff's girlfriend and Cliff's son who were helping kind of push up the hills, and a couple of our staff. And I remember Cliff's son, they're obviously super concerned about how is my dad doing, right? Because Cliff and BJ were, by the time but Dave got back to Mount Horeb, Cliff and BJ were 30 miles up the road. And we were waiting until we could swap back to Nick, and then we were gonna bring Dave back to Team BJ. And I remember talking with his son and kind of explaining the situation to him, because he's like, how's my dad? I wanna make sure he's okay. And I explained to him, hey bud, our team, this team needs us right now. We'll get back to Team BJ. And he's like, okay, what can I do to help? I mean, this kid's like 12 years old. He's super excited, and that to me was a cool experience to see him get all pumped about it. So that was to Mount Horeb, and then obviously Nick took over again, did another 20 or 30 or something like that, and then we got to the top of the second hill, which is Timber, and there was some bald guy on the side of the road.
Sitting there. Who is this guy?
So the neat thing that happened here was Jen or somebody reached out to Pat, maybe to Sarah, and to try to find Chris somewhere on the course, and they were people kept missing him because he's faster than heck, and they kept missing him. And they kind of put the word out, said, everybody see Chris, just tell him what's going on. And it was funny because he had asked, like, how's Chad doing? And they're like, oh, wait a minute, let's talk. And he immediately, stopped, heard what was going on, and they said they really need a biker. And Chris was going for his personal best time at Ironman, Wisconsin. This is probably his fourth time doing it.
Now, didn't Chris do like 2 of the 3 days, or 3 or 4?
Chris had already done.
He'd already done a few Ironmans this week.
He had done 1 full Ironman plus 2 swims and 3 marathons during that week, and now he's going for his personal best at Ironman. And heard what had happened, stopped his bike ride, and waited almost 2 hours for Nick to catch up. So pretty neat. At this point, I was out of urgent care. And as I realized that my mom had her cell phone, or her home phone forwarded to her cell phone, I used my friend's phone to call her, and I kind of got an earful.
You were in trouble, boy.
Yeah, because I had no communication with anybody. I mean, you know how you are with no cell phone. So I remember then finding out where they're going to be, where I can actually meet up with these guys, and it was at the top of Timber Ridge. And we drove there, met the Northern Souls crew and many members of the Watts group. And I remember walking up to Chris, and we both just lost it. I mean, I just said, I can't even explain to you how much this means to me. And he's like, I'm 100%. He's like, I'm 100% into this. I'm going to do this for you guys. He goes, I want to see this happen. He goes, we'll get her to the transition area. And I think I remember looking at Champ, and I looked at Karen, and my bike was sitting there because Nick was about ready to throw it in the ditch at that point. And I think I said, I could go out and ride behind him, or I could be whatever. And they said, don't. They said, just leave it. They're like, concentrate on the run and meet her at the run. And this was tough. This was a tough pill to swallow because, I mean, I was kind of like, they got Autumn. I'm supposed to be with her, and.
Love, and to this day I still call it the looking rod. He gave me his gloves, and I called him the lucky gloves the whole time.
That's good. That's good. Well, when you got teamed up with Chris, the adrenaline he had flowing at that point, I knew that there was going to be no problem trying to make that transition. I mean, I automatically knew we were going to make it to that run. And the neat part was, after that point, I think we pushed on a couple of hills, or we assisted at that point, and then we went to transition. And if you would have heard the crowd when Chris and Autumn came up to the helix, where you have to do this winding spin up to the top of this parking lot, and all I heard was people cheering, and I'm like, oh, here comes Autumn. You know, it was like, here she comes, you guys better be ready. And the look on their face, they came flying in, and it was unbelievable. I mean, that at that point, we made something happen that just was a miracle. The people at IRONMAN were, you know, they were astonished. They were just like, I can't even believe it.
When we went around the corner, the first, every time we went around the corner, my helmet would go to the side.
Yeah.
Was Chris going too fast?
Hey, Chris, what were you thinking when they stopped you, man? And what was going through your mind?
I'm just interested in that. You're having your day, you're feeling great, you're doing an Ironman, all of a sudden they're like, hey dude, can you stop and wait for 2 hours?
Well, when I finally talked to Pat, he was telling me all the stuff they were trying to do. They were trying to switch out pedals, they were trying to get gear for people, and trying to get all kinds of different things to get somebody onto that bike, on a Chad's bike, to get her to the finish line. And I said, so then I sat there and I thought a couple minutes and I said, wait a minute, don't do that. Just hook her up to my bike and I'll take her into the finish line. Well, I've never pulled anybody before. And Janice found out that afterwards she would have never let me pull anybody. So then when they brought her to me, I said, hey, Tristan, what do I gotta do? He says, it's pretty wide. He says, just be careful, don't go off the shoulder of the road and watch her turns and take your time. So at one point we were
Take your time.
At one time, Autumn and I were doing 38 miles an hour. And that's when our helmet kind of went to the side when we made the turn.
Oh, man.
And at one point we were
Was your cart on 2 wheels? Or one wheel, I should say?
4.2 miles an hour trying to get uphill. So you went from this high extreme to this really low extreme. And then Scott and Jen and Champ came by me and said, you've got 5 miles to go, we've got 50 minutes, can you get it there? I said, yep, I'll get it there. And then the rest of the Jets had coming up to Helix. I started cheering and then
Man.
back on the road.
You know, first of all, this is rare for an Ironman event. It is such an individual experience, and people have been training. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Now, you've done this before, Chris. You've done an Ironman before, but still, it's crazy for someone to say, hey, can you stop and help someone? They weren't even thinking that. They were just, and then you thought in your head, and you had this feeling like, maybe I should do it. And you acted upon that. You could have easily just been like, oh man, there's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. You know, man, but you said, I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna pull this trailer. That is amazing. That is incredible. This guy deserves a round of applause. Let's give it to him.
I knew the minute that I had to turn this over, that there was not one doubt in my mind that this crew would get her there. I mean, the way that they take care of things, and they always do. They always will make.
They knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah, they knew exactly what they were doing, but they know what it takes to make it happen, and at all measures, they will get it done. And I mean, that's why I left. I mean, that's why if I thought it was going to fail, I would have just stayed with it. I mean, but I'm like, no way, because I know that they will make it happen. There wasn't even a question, and I knew if they would get to Chris, that he would give up no matter what. If it was a Kona slot, he still would have gave it up to get on to the finish line. I know he would.
Yeah, and the other thing about this story that really touches me too is this. I know you've done some crazy things, Chad, and this was probably a unique experience for you because you had to wrestle with, I can't do this anymore, and I need to ask for help from other people and give this journey up that I've been thinking about, I've been planning for, I've been training for, to someone else. Obviously you trust these people that you gave it up to, but to me, you know, that speaks volumes because everyone sees Chad Esker as this crazy superhuman guy that's, just there's nothing that can stop him. Yet I think it's great that you showed that we saw that side of you, and I think that's part of the story as well, because it's you're not just strong when it's easy. You're strong when it's hard, and you're willing to say, I need help. And you're willing to use your friends around you, and they believe in you as well because they stepped up without question to say, hey man, whatever you need, I'm gonna stop my Ironman today. I'm gonna go 7 straight days of no sleep on your crew and call 700 people in the whole town and get all these people, random people, and people that are in town from Wausau to push up the hills and make this thing happen. Whatever it takes. It is absolutely amazing to me. Not to mention the fact that what we did was probably against the rules, but we won't tell Ironman that. We may have had a couple people on the course that were not registered athletes, but that's okay. It's all about, like I said, getting Autumn across the finish line, right?
And that was one of the, when I finished the bike, it was the best feeling ever, because I knew it could finish. And when I saw Chad, he said, you're gonna be an Ironman. By midnight, you're gonna be an Ironman. And all I could say was, yes!
So you had to have been, you had to have been, I mean, the emotions that, I remember seeing you after Chris took over, and we were seeing your body language in the chair. And I remember a couple of my team were like, ooh, she does not look good. She looks really tired, and she's leaning over, and like you said, your helmet was coming off. I mean, how tired were you physically and emotionally?
I was really, like I said, I didn't sleep much the day before. And I know that Tina,
What? This ought to be good.
Uh-oh. We got a secret here, maybe.
I'm wondering.
Julie, fall asleep whenever I could. But I had so much energy in me that I could not. And I think I was in my mind that much. And I probably drove everybody crazy asking the same question. How is Dad? Where is he? And I probably sounded like a broken record. But that's okay. But when I got to the end of the bike, and first of all, one of the best parts on the bike was my cheer team came all the way down from Point to watching Ironman, and I was like, I looked up from looking down, and all I could see was purple and yellow signs that said, go Autumn. And I was just like, what?
She didn't know. It's a total surprise. Team Mom.
And then I see along the way, my cheerleader friends from UW Stevens Point came down to watch, and I was like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, you inspire a lot of people, Autumn, so you shouldn't be surprised when all those people come out. And I heard that you went to a frat party the night before, too, which is,
Figures.
right? Or a sorority house or something like that, or both? A frat party. And I heard that you almost got kicked out of somewhere as well, right? Yeah, so that's not surprising to me. So,
Because of the Iron Man.
because of the Iron Mom, the Iron Moms. That was Chad's mom. All right, so we got to the run. Chad, take us through the run course.
Okay, well, Ellen had gotten word at this point after we had called her and wanted to know what to do about Chad not breathing thing, and she actually, for probably the third or fourth time, jumped in her car from Wausau and drove down to Madison because she was going to help out with the run. So at transition, there was Ellen, which I'm like, let's see, you ran with us the day before, you worked all night, and you're here again, so you haven't slept now for almost 3 days. What's going on? And she's like, well, I heard you might need a runner. I'm like, well, you can run with us. And what was really neat is at that point,
So it was Chris, Ellen, and the Northern Soul.
yep. And so we just all kind of jumped in and took off running. And Nick joined us. Champ and Karen joined us for a run around. I think we went through Camp Randall. I know Karen joined us on State Street and actually pushed.
Yeah.
Favorite part?
Yep, Camp Randall was awesome. Karen pushed her up State Street. Chris did the whole entire marathon, of course. And it was a super neat feeling when you see this whole entire group that participated for the day. Jen and Scott joined us for a long portion of it, and it was great because at that point we finally had conversation going and laughed the whole entire time.
And then I take the Chad out at the run. I'm like, do we not? You were 7 Ironman again.
Yeah, she told me I was never doing this again. But unbelievable experience. I mean, it gets pretty. When it got dark, it gets a little humbling out there because there isn't a lot of runners, and it's getting cold. It's getting, you're beat. You're really
At that
tired.
point, I was like run down, and I was like, I haven't slept for about 18 hours.
Yeah, I'm sure it was probably at least 18 hours. I'm trying to think. There's so many highlights of that whole entire thing. I mean, tons of laughs, a lot of talking, a lot of reminiscing about the whole week.
It must have felt great having the crew to run with you.
It was so great, and I mean, that was it. At that point, we didn't care what rules were being broken. We didn't care about any of that stuff, and it's kind of one of those things at the Ironman is that at that point, nothing matters. Like, it just doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is getting to that finish line, and I try explaining that to people many times. I did a talk at, for my work group last year at our sales kickoff meeting, and I said, that's the thing is that at the end of an Ironman or the last hour of an Ironman, it doesn't matter the numbers on your W-2. It doesn't matter how nice of a car you drive or what. The only thing that matters is getting across that finish line. That's the only thing that matters in life.
And at the point of the finish, we were at the point where me and Chad were gonna go by ourselves, and if I could have, I would have let the whole crew go across, because that, but it was good because this has never happened at an Ironman where there were 20 people behind us, and they all just stopped at the beginning of the finish line. They all just stopped, and the crowd was so had to be loud. Then I was afraid that I was gonna lose my hearing.
Yeah, that was a pretty special moment. So when you come down the chute, all the runners and all the athletes that were competing solo or even with us, one of Autumn's requests was she didn't want to try to walk across. She didn't want me to push her across. She wanted us to go hand in hand and be side by side. So we did exactly that. Actually, grab those pictures. We did exactly that. We started going down the chute, and everybody that was behind us stopped. And there wasn't a single person that you could see. And they were all giving up their times. They were all giving up everything for that moment so this could be captured. And like Autumn said, the crowd was absolutely outstanding. Everybody cheering. Tina captured this moment, and so we had this made up for you. So pretty neat experience for all of us, actually. I mean, it was unbelievable how those people sacrificed again. Everybody sacrificing for, to make this dream come true.
One of the things that I love to do is look at the other faces. I like to look at the spectators. If you take a moment to look at this video and see how other people are reacting to this situation. And obviously there's a lot of family and friends there, but there's people that don't know Chad and Autumn at all. They've never met them, and they see this happening. And you can't see in the background, but just beyond them is that line of the other athletes. And that's really what it's all about, is seeing those folks. They may never meet you, they may never see you, but you've given them a gift, Autumn. You've given them something that is very precious, and they will never forget it. It is something that will change their lives. You need to know that. That's what this is all about. Okay? So, Chad, you crossed many finish lines. How would you compare this one to the other ones?
This one by far was the best experience I ever had. And every other time that I've crossed a finish line at any one of the races, whether it's a large endurance event or if it's just any other kind of event, I've always been like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I mean, what am I going to do? How am I going to top this? And it was funny driving home on Monday after Ironman, and I was riding back with my friend Bill, and I said, you know what, for the first time ever, I'm actually like, this is great. Like, this was unbelievable. It didn't turn out the way it didn't turn out the way it was planned, but I am completely at peace. I'm completely at where I need to be as far as when somebody asks me what's next, I can honestly say I don't know. And whether it's going to be something to top this, don't know. I mean, I don't know what could ever top this. That's the thing, is that you couldn't put a distance, you couldn't put anything else above it that's going to make this better than this whole experience. And I mean, it goes from all the stuff that happened day 1 through 7. We didn't even hit the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we could talk about, day 4, all the shenanigans we were pulling on the run and all the stuff we were doing, right, Ellen? I mean, there's so much stuff that had happened, and it was just, everybody knows that Mick moved away. He's in Boston. So for him to spend his last week with us was pretty special. He's always been right there, no matter what it was going to be, and he's not right there to go to dinner with every night and start talking about this stuff anymore. So that's kind of a life-changing experience too. But this whole entire thing was, again, nothing. I don't know what can top it. I just don't know. But who knows what we'll dream up? Yeah. Right, Autumn?
Yes.
How about for you, Autumn? What was your favorite moment? What's something that you're going to take away from this whole experience?
The finish line. And afterwards, I go to find Chad to give him something, and I take my medal off, and I hand it to him, and I go, I want you to have my medal. And he's like, no, that's yours. And I'm like, but all I did was sit in a chair.
No, you put up with how many different transitions? You put up with 6 different transitions of people, and
I saw way too many butts on
Yeah,
the bike course.
yeah.
Way too many butts.
I mean, what she went through in a day, I mean, the changes and the way that she adapted to everything that we put her up against, she never once was like, no, this isn't part of the plan, we can't do this or whatever. She just rolled with it and she did it. And
I skinned my elbows because I tried to put my helmet back on, and I missed.
Chris. I don't think the helmet fell off until Chris took over, so.
And I skinned my elbows. This time, skinned my elbows, and I just band-aided them up, and I went on my way. And the best part of the race was he went, and then I went over to Ted, and I'm like, here, take this. And he's like, I have many medals of IRONMAN, different ones, and you don't have one. So I want you to wear that medal everywhere you go. And I do.
You've gained a lot of friends, haven't you, through this experience?
Yes. Many friends that I don't even know.
Do you have how has this affected your self-confidence? Has it made you more confident in some of the dreams and goals that you have?
Yes. I never thought I could do an Ironman. I just thought, oh, an Ironman. That is like way too hard. I can never sit. Never sit for that long in one spot. But this is what I had to do. I had to sit in my wheelchair for that amount of time every single day leading up to Ironman. And it's kind of weird because Chad and I became like best friends through that whole thing. And I would text him and I would say, hey, how is training going? And he just was like, oh, I just did however many miles on the bike. And now I'm back at work. And
Yeah.
he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, sitting in my wheelchair for whoever knows how long. And then I would have to do my therapies double time so I would get used to standing. And a couple days before the race, I actually got new shoes.
Yeah, that's right.
And I now
Running shoes.
And I now call them my speed shoes.
That's awesome.
Love it. So many great memories. Thank you both so much for allowing us to be part of this journey and inspiring us. And just, again, we will walk away from this just in awe of the whole story. And again, thank you all for being there. Every one of you played a part in this. Again, thank you to the Northern Souls group. Thank you to the crew members that were there. Those of you who are pushing up on the hills. Chris, Nick, if you're watching, we're on Facebook. Hi. So thank you guys so much for just inspiring us. It's a pleasure to hear this story. Let's give them a round of applause, guys. So I too stole one of Tina's photos and made mini versions of what she did.
Awesome.
I feel like all I'm doing is stealing Tina's photos. So you guys got these big ones, so I'm going to let you choose what you want to do with these. If you want to keep them, of course, put one in your office. If you want to give them to crew members, whatever you want to do. I got 3 of them. I'm going to give one to each of you, and then you can give one or all of them to someone, okay? So just, again, thank you, Tina, for the great photos and the great memories. Do you guys have any questions for these guys? Anybody? Pretty awesome story, right? Pretty amazing. Now, any questions before we go on? Yes, Mom. Thank you.
This was an opportunity for I have never been able to do this personally, and so I really appreciate it. And with everybody getting together and getting it all done, and I did tell Chris, and if I would have known that he had never had a card on before, he would not have been right.
Yeah.
Because Autumn said to me, I said, what was your scariest moment? She said, that first curve, I think I was only on 1 wheel. I also think it was really nice that Chad's mom and I did not know what was going on because we would have been even more concerned. When Nick pulled up and it wasn't Chad.
And I was driving the car, so you owe me one.
But I really do appreciate it because this is something that Autumn has grown tremendously. From the beginning when Chad used to call her and say, Saturday, and I said, don't you lie to him, don't you lie. And she never wanted to give up. And I think that's the one thing she said was, at one point when Chad came back on the raft, she said, I knew Chad was very, very sick. And she said, I wanted to say, let's quit. And funny because Chad said at that point, he too wanted to quit, but he looked at Autumn and she smiled. And Autumn said to me, I couldn't talk to him, I just smiled. So that's
The words wouldn't come out of my mouth.
Words wouldn't come out of your mouth. Yeah.
So it was a real team effort. They have been the two of them getting through the whole thing, but it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And
I can only imagine.
she doesn't hear that much. But that day, I saw her here many times.
Proud mom. Definitely. Well, Chad and Autumn became our 12th Ironman team that we've ever had at My Team Triumph. Back in 2013, my friend Mary and I did Ironman Wisconsin, and we were the first. And I remember thinking, doing it afterwards, one, I'm never doing this again. No, we did. But just how excited I was to see this grow. And I'm just so excited that you guys have done this. And when Mary did it in 2013, she was one of less than 10 athletes, guided athletes, that have ever done an Ironman anywhere, ever. And now we have 12. We've more than doubled that amount in that short period of time. So, congratulations.
The funny part is when we were getting into the van, and Mom said,
Want to do this again tomorrow?
Chad's doing 8 Ironmans.
And what'd you say?
and I said, no.
What did you really say?
Awesome.
I said the same thing.
We all did. Yeah, right.
So did my crew.
Veronica.
A few things did, yeah.
My body the next day was like, what? Did you?
You're pretty sore.
I felt like I was 100. I felt like I was 100.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. We, again, really appreciate your support through this journey, as well as so many of the other events that we do here in Wausau. We look forward to seeing where this goes. Just seeing you continue to be involved, Autumn, and I'm not even gonna wait to see what's next, Chad. We're not even gonna. I'm sure they've been talking about it. Mom's like, nope. Yeah, take a break. That's what Mom says. Take a break.
That's what
Yes. How about a 5K?
That's what I think.
I'm all for that.
How about a 5K?
October 20th.
That's what I think too. Take a break.
Yeah.
Something tells me he doesn't have that in him.
Big capital letters.
Big capital letters. All right.
We'll see.
Yes, we'll see. All right, guys, thank you so much for coming tonight. Really appreciate your support. Have a good night.
That's cool. Yeah, that's so proud. I know, me too. You did a great job.
So like I said, do what you want with these.
Oh, and I'm definitely gonna hate that. No, you don't.
I should have asked you ahead of time. I should have known you were something. But the more the better.
Yeah, definitely.
That was kind of funny though.
Thank you, Dad. Your picture is so great. Bye.